guys, welcome back to another segment of A2D, Agree to Disagree. It is Wednesday. We are week 9. We are getting into our starts and sits and DFS bargains for the weekend. As always, I am here with Brian. Hey, man. Welcome to the Thunderdome, man. We are mid-season, and it is time to start making some moves and start winning some games. So week 9, man, how you feeling? How's everything going? And, what's going on this week?
Good, man. Trade season. Trade deadline was yesterday, and we got 2 trades in our league today. We had some big names going: Stephon Diggs, Saquon Barkley, a couple names that were on the move in our league. So bye weeks are coming, positioning is coming, playoff time for certain teams. So if you're a team that is in desperation and you have guys on a bye, like Saquon, the guy that has Saquon in our league, he's getting desperate. He needs to start stacking wins. So he made a move, man. This is what we're doing here. We got to make moves to try to survive here. You got to take it week by week for some of us at the bottom. Then we got guys at the top positioning those championship rosters, trying to get these big fish here to position their roster for that final stretch here. So, but yeah, that's what we got going on this week. But getting into some starts and sits, that's what this one is. We got some starts and some sits. So we got some fringe players that we normally go over, some guys that are questionable on starts and sits. Getting into quarterbacks, we always start with QBs, and for me, I have my top one is QB number 18 on the season. So he's obviously a question mark. That's Aaron Rodgers, and he's going against Detroit. We've been talking about Detroit for a long time on this podcast and how to chase them for points. We saw it again last week to cut them up. This week, Aaron Rodgers, man, these guys are desperate for a win, and you couldn't have asked for a better matchup, honestly. I mean, they're on the road, but that's all good. Rodgers don't mind. He's going to go in there, and I think Rodgers is a guy that he'll throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes and probably, through maybe like 300 yards. This is a get-right game for the Packers, so I see a lot of points going up for Green Bay.
Yeah, it's a must-have for Green Bay at this point. I mean, they have to have this week, and they have to beat the lesser opponents when they come on their schedule if they have any chance of turning this thing around. Aaron Rodgers has been dealing with I think it's like a hand injury, a thumb injury of some sort. That might be affecting the way through the ball, but I saw him throw like a 60-yard dime that was dropped last week. So I don't really think it's affecting him that much. He's going to be away from the elements this week. He's not playing in Buffalo on Sunday night under the lights and he's going to have some receivers back. He's going to have, it looks like Christian Watson might be trending towards playing. It looks like Lazard practiced today, so it looks like he's going to have his weapons back. And then there's always Aaron Jones, and we'll get to Romeo Doubs here in a second. But yeah, I mean, chase Detroit. My number one quarterback on my start list, dude, and this might perk your ears a little bit, is Trevor Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence is going against the 32nd ranked pass defense. I'm going based purely on matchup. I think this is the week that, the Raiders just got shut out. They're going to come back. They're probably going to try to put up some points, and there's going to be some points in that game. I can see this being a higher scoring game. So absolutely start Trevor Lawrence.
Right. I mean, my ears perked up a little bit, and I thought about it, and my intention all along was I was looking at matchups, and I knew he had this matchup coming up on the schedule, but I'm going against Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And honestly, I feel like Tua is to kind of negate some of those points I have, because those two are explosive as all hell. So if they go off, that means Tua is going to do well too. And all of a sudden when they score, it's only a +2, because I'm getting +4 on each of those as well. So it doesn't kill me as much. That's kind of my thought process. And also my thought process is I think Tua he's just that good, man. I think that he really is almost a set and forget. I know his ranking isn't that high because he's missed all kinds of time, but to hell with rankings. To me, I think Tua is a set and forget guy. So I'm gonna ride with Tua, but I do see Lawrence down there. So those of you that have Trevor Lawrence, I know Chris Carter Dubs hit me up in his other league. Trevor Lawrence or Kirk Cousins, it's a pretty close one there. And Trevor Lawrence, man, what I like about him going forward is the goal line. If they get down there, they're going to start using him. He's a big body guy. He's an athletic dude. And I think they're going to start using him. He has, I think, in the past 3 games, he has 3 rushing touchdowns, I'm pretty sure. So he's a guy that going forward, honestly, you kind of like to have on your roster. He's got a nice month coming up here on the schedule. A lot of green matchups coming up on the schedule for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. You know, I have two as a sit this week, man. That's why I thought you might find this a little interesting. I think against Chicago, I think you're going to see a little bit more Raheem Mostert, and they're going to get Jeff Wilson in the mix here. And we just saw what Dallas did to Chicago, so I'm going based on, what I think is going to happen in that game. I think Miami could jump out real quick and have some rushing touchdowns. And Tua is not going to have to be a monster in that game. I don't think Waddle and Tyreek are going to have to be big in this game. That's why I have him as a sit, man. It has nothing to do with his matchups. I mean, it's like a 17. It's a black matchup. I just see that game going. Everybody's gonna try to run the ball down Chicago's throat, and I think that's the key to beat them and beat them easily and kind of have a little off week. Has nothing to do with Tua. Has nothing to do with him playing bad or anything like that because he's gonna play well.
Yeah, everyone had Mostert as a start last week. He had a green matchup against Detroit, and I think he had like 7 points. Yeah, just because you can run the ball, that's just not what Miami does, though. They're just not like has Mostert had that game where he's carried them, or they had a game where they run the ball really well. Like they're a pass first team. Like it seems like they ran the ball when they had to, and even then, like it was few and far between.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be the game. I think everybody just saw what happened in that last game. I think the key to beat Chicago is run the ball. I mean, I could be wrong. I know Mostert's not like he's a start for me. I have him as a start as my running back. We'll get him. So we could talk about that real quick too. I mean, I have that as a start. I think he gets in the end zone this week. I think he's gonna, probably put up 80, 90 rushing yards fairly easily. I kind of see that game going more towards run heavy, and that's why I have two as a sit.
Game script. Last week, Detroit got up 14-0 early, so Tua had to throw, obviously,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's not. I don't think that's going to happen this week. Chicago and Justin Fields, that offense, even though they have been improving, they're not dynamic by any means. They're not going to start lining it up and make Tua chase them down in a shootout. I don't think that's going to happen. So, like to your point, Miami should get ahead early, and then game script says to hand the ball off to Mostert. So
Yeah, I mean, Tua is going to play well. I'm not sitting here saying like, hey, he probably is going to get 15 to 20 points. The only reason I'm saying he's a sit is because like you said, game script. I see Mostert. They're just going to run the ball 20 to 25 times. They're in Chicago. I mean, this game's outdoors. Game last week was in Detroit. That game was indoors. So I mean, I could just see it being more of just a run game. I haven't looked at the weather, but I can imagine it's going to be colder. Stuff like that. So with all these aspects coming in, I mean, he's a name that came to my head that, just proceed with caution is all I'm going to say.
speaking of Justin Fields in that game, we are just talking about it. I got him as a start, man.
Yeah.
He's going to be. We just talked about game script. Miami's going to be ahead. What does that mean for Chicago? It means Chicago's going to be trailing. They're going to have to throw the ball, and they play a lot of man coverage in Miami, which means if Justin Fields gets by that initial pass rush, then he has a lot of green grass in front of him to take with his feet. So he can rush for easily 60, 70 yards in this game. If he takes one in, all of a sudden you throw in a couple of touchdown passes because they're going to be trailing and Miami puts up points. Miami's going to score in the 30s, whether that's rushing, throwing, however it's going to be. They're going to score points because that defense in Chicago is depleted now. So definitely Miami's going to have a lead. Josh Fields is going to have to throw. Justin Fields is going to have to put up some points. So Justin Fields, I have as another start this week. Maybe a DFS guy too, pretty cheap.
Yeah, I had him. I had him written down, and then I kind of crossed him out because you brought up Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk is going to have a big game. He hasn't thrown for 300 yards yet this season. I think this is the game he's going to do it, and 3 touchdowns. What is it? Adam Rank likes to saying it's a revenge game. He's going back to Washington. Who big what? But I think he's going to throw up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns this game. He hasn't really had one of those yet this year, and he's still ranked the number 13 quarterback or something like that, to where he's one of your fringe starters in a 12-man league, right? So, and he's been on a bye also. So, he's a guy that you can decide to start every week, or if you have a better option. But I think this is a week where you can feel comfortable with him. I had him on my roster, and I dropped him only because I have Mahomes. But yeah, this is definitely a week against Washington, like 25th ranked pass defense. This is definitely a week for Kirk.
Dropped him from Mariota, eh? I was kind of shocked to see that one. I'm not surprised. I'm not gonna
That
lie,
was
dude.
me. That was me more being a dick than anything else. Like I know people were kind of have their eyes on Mariota, and nobody really respects Kirk that way. Mariota's the number 8th ranked
Kirk's
quarterback.
not gonna last long. We got bye weeks and stuff. Kirk's gonna get picked up here pretty quick.
Yeah, somebody, and this is the week to do it. So if you need a quarterback, this is the week to
But
plan.
to that, you brought up Lawrence and you brought up Kirk on your starts. If you had to pick one, help Chris out. Who do you think? Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins?
Honestly, I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. The matchup is too good, and like you said, on the goal line, he's like if they get to the 1 yard line, he just quarterback sneaks it. He's too big not to get those 6 points right there. Etienne's a smaller back. He's not really a goal line guy. I think Etienne's going to have his way this week. Also, I think there's going to be. I think Jacksonville's probably going to put up a lot of points. But I think Trevor has a better chance of scoring those 6 point touchdowns, and he's going to have rush yards and throwing yards. So overall, I put him in like the 25 to 27 point range, where I have Kirk at like the 20, what's 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, probably like the 22 point range. So with those rush yards, that makes him a little bit more valuable.
Definitely. All right, that covers up our quarterbacks for the most part. Running backs, man, some running backs. Top of the list here for me is a new household name. It might be, honestly, might be a league winner, dude. This full Dante Foreman just handed me a loss. All week, Chris had Singletary in his lineup over him. I'm like, nice. And then I think it was Saturday he made the switch. I'm like, dang, I was hoping he wasn't gonna do that. And then 3 touchdowns, a hat trick later. Dante Foreman. It's kind of easy. We always say don't chase points on this one, but he took that job over. They like the way he runs. They're giving him all kinds of opportunity. The volume's there. Production has been there. So ride it out, man. Let's ride this out as long as we can. Dante Foreman, get him in the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's one of those guys that people don't know much about him yet, but he was even producing when he was with Tennessee and when he was with Houston before that, and he was always backed up to Derrick Henry. He's backed up to David Johnson and then anybody else that was, before him. But now that he's kind of given a chance to shine, we see what this kid can do. Like CMC's gone. I've never been high on Chuba Hubbard. Like even last year when I had CMC, I didn't go out and pick up Chuba Hubbard. I just never was high on him. He's dealing with an ankle injury, and he's going to take him time to get back and before he can even acclimate. And Deontay just took that job, dude. I mean, after last week, you can't deny the guy. I mean, he's their best running back going forward. Can't deny it. So 100% on that, man. We talked about Mostert a little bit. He's one of my starts. Just game script again. I think that's going to be a good play. We saw what a very similar running back with Tony Pollard just did to him. So I think that they could probably go with that same game script and just run the ball down Chicago's throat. So Mike McDaniel, if you're listening, man, just run the ball down their throat, dude. Made me look good. Another one's tomorrow night, Thursday night game, Miles Sanders. So I know he's kind of a fringe guy for some people. At this point, I don't know if there's much more he needs to prove that he's a running back 2 for you, and you should be starting him every week. He's got the green light matchup. He's got everything you need to see. He's like what, running back 12, 13 right now in fantasy. Yeah. I mean, he should be a start for people. And I've been getting this question a lot from friends of mine, like, hey, should I start Miles Sanders this week? Yeah. Like, we weren't necessarily high on him going into the year, but at this point, like, he should be in your lineup and you should just kind of forget about it. And if he scores 10 points, 12 points, you're not happy about it, then kind of take that lick. But he's got a good chance to score 26, 27 points this week because it's a really green light matchup.
I hope you're wrong, man. Going against him in one of my leagues. So I hope you're wrong. But yeah, I mean, he's in that offense, and you just mentioned his ranking. He's locked in as an RB2 in our league. There's no debate about it. A running back I like this week though is Khalil Herbert. We mentioned game script. We went about that game a little bit ago with Justin Fields and with Tua, and we talked about that game and how it's going to flow. Chicago's going to be down. When they're down, their best pass catching back and honestly their most explosive player, one of them, Mooney's got some juice, but this dude Herbert is electric. So I feel like we just seen last week he outproduced Monty. So I feel like he's going to start gradually taking that job over. Like Monty is due for a payday, and obviously they have a young bull right there next to him that they don't need to pay Monty, and they know that it's going to end up being Herbert's job going forward. They can get a couple more years without having to pay him. So I think they're going to start getting more and more of a Khalil Herbert and game script. So yeah, I think he's going to be a good start this week.
Yeah, I think ever since going back to Monty's little knee injury that he had, Khalil Herbert's come on the scene, and there was a week or two where people kind of forgot that he was there, but then he had that play against New England, dude, and that little screen play they ran, and he just looked like he was shot out of a cannon, and he has plays like that all the time. And Monty's more of a bowling ball. He runs downhill, and he'll get you your 100 yards on 25 carries. But Khalil Herbert he's a shot of a cannon, dude. Like, he is a big play waiting to happen. So I like him a lot. It's outdoors, man. They could use him a lot more this week, and he's even good in the pass game. So I like him, and I no argument from here. Going into some sits though, man. I don't know if you have any more starts. You have any more start running backs?
I have a guy that I kind of like, Jamal Williams. He's going against Green Bay, revenge game. He's a former Packer, the running back on Detroit, and I just not so much that I really like him. I just felt like he's kind of a name that almost needs to be talked about a little bit because DeAndre Swift is back, and honestly, like that worried some of the people, but like to me that helps him. DeAndre Swift, when they're in, like he gets the goal line or they on the goal line, that's Jamal Williams' work. So I mean, for me, Jamal Williams is a good start. Yeah, hold on. Okay, hold on. But
Man,
yeah,
we
Jamal
gotta
Williams.
get him. We gotta get him his
Jamal
own
Williams.
segment, man. We gotta get him
Jamal
started to talk
Williams.
about some running backs.
No, that's a door.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, but Jamal Williams, dude. I like him. Honestly, I like him going forward, and I like him this week. Detroit, we talk about them a lot. Swift, they just traded Hawkinson too, so I feel like they're gonna use Swift more in the pass game, and this dude Jamal Williams is gonna get a lot of the running game work.
It's weird, man. It's they're kind of handling their backs the way that Green Bay should be handling theirs. That's kind of how I feel like Green Bay. Like, he's more of a traditional running back, and then DeAndre Swift's more of a scat back, get the ball in his hands in the passing game type thing. And that's exactly what they should be doing in Green Bay, and they don't. But yeah, I think he's kind of touchdown dependent to me. I mean, it depends on how many touches he gets in this game, but he's a little bit dependent on touchdowns, but he's been getting them.
Yeah, he scores a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah,
That offense.
Josh, who owns him in our league, he made a comment about, oh well, he's kind of like James Conner from last year, and that's actually a really good comparison. And I didn't really think of it that way. And if he's getting touchdowns like that, then yeah, he's still startable. And if DeAndre Swift is making him better to where they're having to guard more field, then yeah, it could definitely be something to where he's still startable. And I haven't really watched him that much because when I watch those games, I'm looking at like Amon-Ra and I'm looking at Hawkinson and all the well, not Hawkinson anymore, but I was looking at Hawkinson and looking at those kind of playmakers. So maybe I should pay more attention to him. Going into some sits, man. This was actually a guy who just was traded in our league, and that's Michael Carter. He's going up against Buffalo. I have James Robinson sitting next to him. I think this is going to be more of a 60-40, 70-30 split. So Carter's still not going to get a full-time workload. Plus he's got that just disasterable matchup. So I would say both Michael Carter and Robinson for that reason.
Oh yeah, dude, that's a tough matchup. I was thinking like game script though. Michael Carter, to me, depending on your matchups, dude, he could have they could be getting down by a lot, and he's the check down guy. So yeah. But the Jets, man, that Jets offense looked horrible last week.
And they're not going to look any better. I mean, they're getting a tougher matchup. I think that game's in Buffalo again too, so I don't think it's getting any better.
Not at all, dude. Any is that the it for running backs, or you got some more?
I have some more. I have Darrell Henderson, who that's not his job. It's not his job. And I mean, he's projected 13 points on NFL. So don't go off of those rankings. Don't go off of those.
I dropped it.
Yeah, I think Danny just dropped him too. I mean, I
dropped him, dude.
I don't see any argument against that. It's not his job. I
Yeah,
mean,
if you got Darrell Henderson, cut that fool loose, cut him loose. There is no, he might score a touchdown, and even if he scores a touchdown, he's going to get you 10 points, 12 points.
yeah.
Like the volume isn't there. They use 5 different running backs. McGay, I just saw a report about Sean McVay too. That when Ramsey, Stafford, and like that core gets broken up, or if like Aaron Donald retires, that he's going to retire too. Like clearly, this dude loves the game, right? Like oh my, like he is. I don't know. You know how I feel about that guy, McVay. And obviously the running back position, the only guy you can really start is Cooper Cup. That
Mhm.
being said, in my other league, I did pick up Allen Robinson. He was available, and I picked up Allen Robinson. Dude, he's got like 6 or 7 targets in like 3 straight games. He's got double digits in back-to-back games.
It's so frustrating, man, right? I mean, Allen Robinson, like he's like top 3 in goal line targets too. Like he's getting targets, he's getting goal line targets, and they're just not computing to fantasy points. Like there's something just weird
2
about
weeks
that.
in a row, I think he had 17 and 10. I mean, that's not
Yeah, he's
not
getting there.
terrible.
He's
Like
getting there.
it's
He's
a
getting
lot
there.
better than what he's coming from. So, and if he can start getting going and they use it, they have to. They can't run
Yeah.
the ball. They can't do anything else. They're going to be losing honestly a lot of games. So, I feel like the game script is going to be there. So.
Yeah, I actually have. I mean, this game is because it's LA and Tampa. The winner of this game might get their season together, and the loser of this game it might be over for. So I think Tampa has a little bit better of an offense, and I think that they're going to get it going this week. Anybody in LA, I don't trust. I mean, you trust Cooper Cup, like he's going to get 30 targets. He's you trust him. Especially in that playoff matchup last year. I mean, if he has that ankle, but I mean, I don't think it's going to slow him down that much. But
No.
other than that, I mean, there's nobody on LA you really trust. I wouldn't even play Stafford this week. I have a little star next to Jonathan Taylor only because they're playing New England. And I think they're going to try to make, Bill, like that Bill effect. He's going to try to make Sam Ellinger beat him in some way. But you're starting Jonathan Taylor. Like you're not going to sit Jonathan Taylor, but he still looks kind of bad against that ankle injury, dude. And I know it's frustrating, but
Beyond frustrating, bro. I drafted him in my other league, first overall, and I went in there, dude, and I had 2 months. As soon as I got that one pick, I'm like, Eckler or Derrick Henry, which one's it gonna be? And we started drinking. My brother-in-law, dude, Jonathan Taylor, that offensive line, Matt Ryan, and I fucking got talked into it, kind of either way. I thought he's safe, like the safest pick. He has been the biggest bust in fantasy this season. Even Kyle Pitts, at least we just seen a little bit of production out of him. But yeah, he didn't get drafted number 1 overall like this dude Jonathan Taylor, and he's like RB40 or whatever the fuck, dude. This dude has been god awful. I just picked up Deion Jackson. He didn't practice today. It's the ankle again. Who knows? Like he took himself out. He was medically cleared, and then he didn't play 1 week, even though he was medically cleared. So like I don't know what's going on with this guy right now, but yeah, I've had enough, and I picked up Deion Jackson just in case.
and he looked explosive in that one game when he was out. So and Hines was out in that game. I mean, Deion Jackson looked pretty explosive. So yeah, I just have a little star next to Jonathan Taylor. Like people are still going to start.
I hope, dude. I hope what you do exactly what you just said. That's what I'm hoping. I sit Jonathan Taylor, rule his ass out. Hopefully he doesn't practice the next 2 days. They just brought in Zach Moss, so he's going to be the complimentary guy. And the Deion Jackson, I think, had like 10 catches the game where he got all the work. So like
34
Deion Jackson,
points.
like yeah. So I'm hoping that Taylor just rests up this week, sit out this week, even though it's the Patriots. That means Jackson obviously showed he can handle a full workload, and he would get all of it. So I know it's the Patriots, so he's not going to have 30-something points, but he could have 6 catches and like 80 rushing yards, something like that, and have like a nice 15-point game.
He'll be productive for sure.
Which is a lot better than Jonathan Taylor's fucking bust ass.
Maybe we throw him under the start list, dude. Deion Jackson. I mean, he's a very low value, especially if you're making your DFS lineups this early. I mean, he's a very low value, guy. If you're looking for someone really cheap to go for some of the more expensive guys, I mean, I would think about it with Jonathan Taylor not practicing.
Even like honestly, and even with JT, like we all know how Hines used to get his work sometimes too. someone's going to have that role, and it's going to be Jackson. That's why they felt comfortable letting Hines go, as they saw what Jackson can do, man. And I honestly think that played a large part in it. That's why I picked him up.
Tomorrow is the day where teams start to put together their game script, and then Fridays are walkthroughs. So if he doesn't practice tomorrow, I would probably, I mean, Deion Jackson probably be a full go for me, honestly, because I mean tomorrow's the day they start to put together game script, and then Friday, of course, is the walkthrough. So just pay attention to that. So getting to receivers, man, the first one I have on my list is a must start at this point. I've liked this kid since week one. He's starting to look like O'Roy, but I'm only going to mention him one more time because the matchup is Chris Olave. He had a 5 for 52 last week, but they were blowing the Raiders out. This is going to be a closer matchup, higher scoring. Baltimore's going to score some points. So, but they're at home. Andy Dalton, is looking like the quarterback there for the, going forward, and he has a nice little connection with him. So, just a couple weeks ago, 6 for 107 against Arizona. Going forward, I mean, he's their best receiver. I don't even know if Michael Thomas is still back. I don't know about Jarvis Landry. Kamara's not going to score 3 touchdowns in this game. He might, but I would assume Olave, even 5 for 52 when they're blowing the Raiders out. That's still a respectable line. I think that he's a guy that you just set, forget, let it go, and you move on with it.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Rank, what is he? Wide receiver 20, or what was his?
Right now, honestly, in NFL, I think he's a little bit higher than that.
Probably in the teens. Either way, like I would imagine he's a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 at worst. Even worst case, a flex. Like if you have him on your roster at this point in the season, I'm pretty sure he's basically a set and forget kind of guy, regardless of matchup.
Well,
especially because the upside.
I keep getting questions about him, man. He's 19, so he's a little bit higher than 20. So he's in the top 20. I keep getting questions about him, whether they should start him. DJ Moore. I mean, I understand where you drafted Chris Olave. You kind of have those questions like, hey, maybe you have another receiver that you're comfortable with. I think Chris Olave, man, is a wide receiver 2 all day. And if you don't have, he's my receiver 3.
We're halfway through the season, so these rankings mean a little something, unless these are guys like DeAndre Hopkins, who his ranking is obviously flawed because he missed 6 weeks. But we all know where he is. Hop is that dude. He's shown that already. So, these rankings for other guys that have actually played all year, like he's played all year and he's wide receiver, whatever you said, 18. So he's a wide receiver 2. He's that in a 12-man league. He's a wide receiver 2 all day long. So
and he's missed some games too. So hold on one second. I have to do something real quick.
No worries. If you're in a fortunate enough position where you got DJ Moore and to choose from, though, because that's a pretty tough one. I know you got Lazard to choose from, and to me, that's so easy. I would go just because the upside with Olave, but like DJ Moore, that's another one. If you're going back and forth between DJ Moore, who we talked about a couple weeks ago when CMC got moved, his value is going way up right now. And we saw that last week. PJ Walker looks for him. So yeah, DJ Moore, that's actually a tough one right there to choose from.
Yeah, he's so this week, luckily for him, he's got Tyreek, Olave, and DJ Moore, his 3 receivers. But again, I mean, those are lightning. So he actually, but I mean, I keep getting that week after week after week after week is, hey, DJ Moore, Olave. I keep saying Olave. I mean, I love this kid, dude. I think he's electric. I think he's I keep mentioning Jamar Chase, like he's this year's Jamar Chase, but he's not quite on that level. He's not producing quite on that level, but he's this, to me, now that Breece Hall is out, he's the offensive rookie of the year, and there's not really going to be much question about it. Dameon Pierce might make a little bit of question mark about that, but he's been producing every single week. And, he's number 19 in receivers. So I just, going forward, I mean, he's got to be a lock in your lineup, but it's a good problem to have if you're trying to decide between him and another receiver you should be starting. So,
all right, let's get these locks out of the way, because I actually have a lock that I'm putting in my lineup now too, an eye on here. And just because I said him last week and I just feel like I have to mention it, Jacoby Myers, I set him last week. I think he's wide receiver 20 and he missed a game. So he's a wide receiver 2 all day long for me. He had a bad matchup, a red matchup against the Jets last week, and he had 20-something points. He hasn't scored under single digits all year long. So for me, I'll never do it again. He is in my lineup every week. Yeah, so if you got Jacoby Myers, good on you. That's my bad, Jacoby. I won't do it again. Somebody told me he was going to score like 5 points, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to find somebody else. It didn't really work out.
So,
Jacoby Myers.
so what you're saying is I should scratch him off my sit list, is what you're telling me? That's what
Yeah,
you're telling me? Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I just, again, matchup, those corners in Indy,
Fuck
man, they're
those.
just nightmares. But you're right, man. Jacoby Myers, I think that game against the Bears, he was getting shut out with Mac Jones, and then he had that 1 for 30 and kind of saved his fantasy day. But he's going to make those kind of plays, and they need somewhere to
He had
throw the
12
ball.
targets from Mac Jones last week. 12 target. Mac
Yeah,
Jones hooked
that's
him
better.
up like he always kind of has,
That's
and
better.
and the thing about him is they move him around. He plays in the slot a lot. So I know the corners for the Colts, Gilmore, he lines up outside though. I don't know if he's going to travel inside with them. Kenny Moore might. Either way, but I don't care. I honestly don't care. Jacoby Myers is in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. He plays in the slot too, and Indy, they're strong on the outside. I don't know about the inside. So, yeah, I mean, maybe I'll cross them off my list. Maybe you just talked me out of that one. So, going back to one of the guys I like this week, I think that Juju against Tennessee is a guy that you got to play. Juju is starting to get his shit together with Patrick Mahomes, man, and they brought in. So they brought in the kid from New York, and everybody's talking about him and how he's going to be this big splash player. I really think it just opens the field more for guys like Juju and guys like Travis Kelce. And it's going to take some time for that kid to get used to the system. And Juju he's been playing Modern Warfare with Patrick. I mean, they're starting to get their shit together, man. So there's chemistry building there. And you got quarterback 3 or 4, maybe 5 in fantasy right now. And Patrick's, looking like Patrick. So Juju's going to be one of the main, benefactors of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. He is. He's besides Kelsey, he's the guy that you want on your roster and that out of that offense. We saw Hardman just had I think 3 touchdowns, but that was his only game in a while. He was on the waivers in most leagues. Now everyone's going to chase points, go with Hardman. No, Juju's the guy. He's more consistent. I agree with you on that one. He's almost a set and forget guy too, though. You're doing a lot of those ones, Adam Rank. My next one here is Josh Palmer. To me, I actually picked him up off waivers last week, and I'm going to start him in my lineup this week. He's got a good one against Atlanta, and we talked about it in our waiver pickup, man. I think the fit, he was trying to play the Keenan Allen role, and now he's going to play the Mike Williams role, and I think he fits that a little bit better. So, yeah, Josh Palmer.
Wait, hold on. You didn't do this because you're not quote. I just said that like yesterday or 2 days ago. I said those exact words to you. And dude, 100,000% I agree with you. And even Austin Eckler said it like yesterday or 2 days ago. He's like, hey, he's filling in for Mike Williams instead of Keenan Allen. It fits him better. It fits the offense better. I'm like, wow. Like, okay. All right. No, I get it. No, but I do like that. I like Josh Palmer. I even liked him when he was filling in for Keenan Allen. I mean, it just looked like he was kind of a security blanket for Justin, and he was getting targets. It just sometimes, I mean, there was a game where he had like 13 targets, but like 4 catches. I forget what game that was, but it wasn't there for him. And but you convert any half those, and he's having a pretty big day. We talked about Green Bay, and I'm going into that game again. Romeo Dobbs. That's the guy to have this week. Lazard coming back off injury. I do think that Dobbs is going to find a lot of open space in this game, and he probably scores again. Honestly, he might even score twice. So if you have Romeo Dobbs, and a lot of these set and forget guys I have questions about these. I get guys that ask me, hey, should I start Juju this week? Yes, you start Juju this week. Yes, you start Dobbs this week. Yes, you start. That's why I'm answering these questions, is because I'm getting these questions. And
they must be like 10-man leagues, or they either that or they just have some good teams. Because I mean, like Eric actually just turned down a trade because of Juju. He's like, I gotta hang on to Juju. Like he's the number one wide receiver. Yeah. We all know it's Kelsey really, but yeah, he's the top wide receiver on a team with the best quarterback in the game, arguably. So
yeah. But yeah, no, it's actually a guy that I work with, and he's he's trying to, it's Juju or Adam Thielen and guys like that. I'm like, dude, Juju, It may not be high level questions and hard questions to answer, but they are questions. Damn it, this thing is
Oh, here we go again.
broken. Just broken.
No, stay on receivers though. Another wide receiver that I want to bring up. I don't have a sits list written down, but if I did, I think Brandon Cooks would be on it because he's dealing with some stuff with the Houston Texans right now. He sent out a tweet saying like, "You're taking my kindness for weakness." I don't know what exactly it
Yeah,
was,
you're playing with my
but
career. Yeah,
right, right.
I
So
have a
he wasn't
big
at
exclamation
practice.
mark.
Yeah, he wasn't at practice, and it sounds like they had an agreement that he was going to get moved, and he obviously didn't. So, yeah, man, it sounds like there might be some type of holdout situation.
Mhm.
We don't know what's going to go on with that. So for now, he is a guy that you might want to, just keep an eye on. If he practices in full tomorrow and then he's there again Friday, then okay, he's back.
Yeah,
Because I did mention like he is a pros pro, he always has been. But this is today's NFL. So if he wants to hold out and go that route, then maybe they end up releasing him, and then he ends up just signing for free with a contender somewhere. Who knows how it's going to play out? But for this week, just keep an eye on him. He might be worth a sit.
I have 3 big exclamation marks next to his name because that tweet is not good to see. And I mean, it's cryptic. You don't know who he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about the Packers. Like, oh, you told me you were going to trade for me and you didn't, or something. I mean, you don't know, but you have to assume he's talking about Houston. I mean, he sat out practice yesterday. Did he practice? Or I'm sorry, practice. He didn't practice today. They held him out yesterday. He's not going to play. I don't think he's going to play Thursday. I mean, if you're not practicing, he's probably not going to play. Even if he does play, I mean, he has a tough matchup, and how hard do you want to play for a team like that right now? So, um, best case scenario, if you're holding on to Brandon Cooks, like you're kind of hoping that they drop him at this point. I don't think they're going to do that. His contract, I don't know how much dead cap he has against him, but that's a really bad situation. And going forward, if he's unhappy, I mean, that's another holdout type guy. It's a can maker type guy where you're high
That's
on him and
crazy, dude. Like Houston, they have the Deshaun thing go on, and now you got this. Like players just hate going there. Apparently, like star players in Houston just don't mix.
it's got to be the
Like,
owner, dude. That owner is he's not a very smart owner for sure. I don't know much about the GM, and they got coaching carousel there. They don't have any kind of future. They let DeAndre Hopkins go for peanuts. They let JJ Watt walk. I mean, they're letting all these star players, Deshaun Watson. I know he had some issues, but there was issues before all that stuff came out. There's people that think that shit was staged. I mean, it's just it's not a good situation out there in Houston, dude. And we're looking at maybe hopefully they figure it out.
So
Sell a
speaking of
team,
Houston, though, like just to stay on Houston, they're Nico Collins. Not this week because Thursday they go against the Eagles, and those corners are
play Slay.
ridiculous. And that's where he goes. He's not an inside guy at all, so there's no way around it. He's getting Bradbury or Slay every time. So Thursday, you definitely don't want Collins. But if there is a situation with Brandon Cooks, then Nico Collins might be a guy worth monitoring.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there's another kid there, Chris something, and he's starting to come on a little bit. He's been getting targets there too, and he could play more of the Brandon Cooks role. So pay attention to that kind of stuff. But yeah, sit everybody, sit any Houston, sit Dameon Pierce this week. I mean, sit them all in my book. But
Right.
on the other side of the ball, Devontae Smith, I have him as a sit also. AJ Brown is just taking everything in that receiving core the last couple of games. Devontae Smith to me just he's had his 1 week, his 2 weeks, like he has those weeks, and hell, it could be this week, and I could be wrong, but they're not. Houston doesn't give that many points up to the wide receivers, and if they're going to give up big plays, it's going to be to AJ Brown.
Just got game script in that game, man. It's no Brandon Cooks. Who's going to complete passes out there? Like if they're going to struggle to run the ball too. Robert Quinn's first game, probably with the team in prime time. He's going to want to do well. So game script in this one, honestly, is going to be like it's going to be Eagles get up early. They get ahead early. I'm hoping they throw a couple touchdowns early. All right, we got a good lead. We don't need our starters anymore. Boston Scott show. Here we go. Kenneth Gainwell. Here we go. Some deep sleeper options right there, maybe in DFS.
It's almost a second
but
buy
yeah,
for this week.
right. Yeah. So just wrapping up that wraps up receivers though. You want to get in some tight ends real quick before
Yeah,
we wrap up here?
let's just wrap it up. I have two. I mean, I had Zach Ertz written down because of matchup, but you start him. He's tight end 3. You're starting him. Gerald Everett against Atlanta is a good start. I know he's top 7, top 8 tight end. You're probably playing him anyway, but the matchup's there also. And last guy I have is a question every single week. And are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? Is Kyle Pitts. He got 19 points for people last week, and you know, ranked 17 against the pass. That they have to throw the ball somewhere, and Pitts is going to get he's going to get his stuff, man. He's going to get his targets. Is it going to convert to fantasy points? I don't know. He's got a lot of red coming up. So if you guys drafted him, if you've been holding on to hopefully a couple big games, hopefully this is one of them.
Yeah, well, that matchup coming into the week last week wasn't the best for him on paper, and he had a big week, and I think that kind of inflated the numbers a little bit, changed them up, and now Carolina, they're not the best, but not the worst either. They're middle of the pack. He did good, man. The volume is there, and they need to keep using him like that. And what I'm starting to notice is when they get in the goal line area, they look to throw to him because he's a big body, man.
He's a big dude, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to score some more touchdowns. He's a tough one. I'm actually, I just can't get that right, man. Kyle Pitts, I wish you and I can get on the same page, man. I would have a couple more wins if we did, because every time I play you, you don't do well. And then when I bench you, obviously he was on my bench last week with 19 points. So I'm not going to chase the points this week. I'm going to wait till the following week. And he gets Carolina again. And obviously they were able to move the ball well, and he gets that rematch. I think that he's gonna, do well again. So the following week is when I'm gonna put Kyle Pitts back in the lineup. This week, though, for me personally, just because I have Josh Palmer, and I think that's my other matchup. So between Palmer and Pitts is my flex matchup this week with Pickens on a bye. So I like Palmer. I like the matchup. Mike Williams is out, so I'm playing the matchup. And yeah, he's got Justin Herbert throwing to him. So yeah, I'm going with that one on this one just because, like I said, I'm not chasing the points. I feel like I did that with Kyle Pitts for the first few weeks of the season, and it hasn't worked. So I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I'm going to go with Josh Palmer in my flex.
What about tight end? So you like Pitts? What other? Or you're kind of iffy on Pitts. What else do you have as far as starts? Is that the only one we have?
Yeah. I mean, tight ends is tough. I mean, you can look for
Yeah.
some streaming options. Like we talked about chasing points. Tyler Conklin, he got dropped maybe 2 weeks ago after not doing anything for about a month, and then all of a sudden he sparked. But I'm not chasing that. I'm not. You mentioned the Broncos running back. He's on a bye this week though. If you guys need to stream one, you can maybe shoot us some names and tell you some guys that we would maybe start or not start. But tight ends, man. I mean, Robert Tunyon, he's got a good matchup against the Lions. So, and he's been coming on strong. So he's kind of one of those fringe guys. So I know Gesicki, man, he gets targets in the red zone, and he's starting to carve out a little role in that offense as well. So there are some guys on waivers that you could potentially get away with, some fringe guys if you have guys on a bye. But yeah.
Yeah, Gesicki was a guy that I have on my sit list only because I don't think they're going to throw the ball that much. They're still going to throw the ball, but you're going to look at Tyreek and stuff like that first. I have Hawkinson. He's getting traded. He has to learn that playbook. He's going to be more used as a run blocker. I think Johnny Munt would be a guy that you would want to take a look at first because he caught a touchdown last week. He's familiar with KO, but Hawkinson's still going to get familiar. Don't expect big things. And Washington is number 1 against the tight end. So a whole bunch of stuff there. And then Darren Waller's been dealing with whatever he's been dealing with the last 2 years, it feels like. I think it's hamstring right now. And they're playing Jacksonville, another bad matchup. And just that's another one of those tight end busts. Like you draft him top 4 or 5 tight ends, and he just isn't doing it for you. So you want to go out and look for a waiver pickup. I also wanted to bring up Isaiah Likely really, really fast with Mark Andrews questionable, and the fact that their bye is next week, I would be very, very surprised if they force him into this game. I picked him up as a backup. Right now, it looks like they're still projecting him to play, but I would even go Isaiah Likely, even if Andrews does play. Like, I don't think that they're going to give him a full workload. That's a guy, if he's on your waivers after what he did last week and how he looked, that's a guy I would go out and stash and especially if
Yeah, no, speaking of waivers, honestly, that's the guy right there because there's no way if they're smart, the Ravens they're trying to win, compete later down the road. They're not going to play Andrews this week, especially with how good this kid looked too. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to go this week. That would be the perfect start this week for those of you that either have Andrews or have a tight end on a bye. You needed to pick up a guy. That's the perfect one right there, man. But that's it as far as starts and sits and whatnot. But this time of year, like we just mentioned to start the show, it's all about trades and trade seasons and trying to adjust your roster. So start, sits, yeah, it's cool. Hopefully we helped you with some names here that can help you guys out. But we know it's about adjusting your roster right now. So we were getting hit up a ton about trades, and we're even trying to deal ourselves because guys are dangling Saquon Barkley and Stephon Diggs. It's hard not to get tempted, to make your team better. So, and that's what it's about, making your team better. Don't give up. Make sure you guys subscribe. Stay with us all year. We got you guys covered. Let's win these championships.